Andrew and Samson have to have made up enough size and conditioning.
Okay.
Because, you can only, it's one of those scenarios where I totally agree with what you're saying. When it's 2 and 2, or even 2 and 3, if Nick isn't, that they call out a 5-man top 5, which I think is a pretty reasonable guess that could be the top 5.
Yep.
The two tall guys can end up looking dominant, or they can end up looking soft.
Hey everybody, welcome to It's Just Bodybuilding. Big Ron Partlow here, Dusty Hanshaw, and the producer, Scott McNally. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell. Like, hit my mic with the bell.
You bet. Ring the bell. Do all those things for us every single time. Helps us out. Helps us in the algorithms. You know how many podcasts there are now. We need all the dings and rings and beeps and bops we can get. And also remember, IamMutant.com. Go to IamMutant.com. Get your IsoSurge. Get your All In. And everyone should get on the gear. Dusty 20, Big Ron 20. Use your code. Save your money. Keep us employed. And Think Big Bodybuilding Patreon. Scott, the producer, working hard. All the shows on Think Big. I know a lot of you watch more than just this one. And then for some of you, this is like the trash TV that you watch when you're not
nothing else is on.
Yeah, when nothing else is on, you watch the trash show. Put Ron and Dusty show on. We'll just put up with that. Scott had a great show about insulin this week, and that was so good. But now there's nothing left to watch, so put Ron and Dusty show on.
Thank you, guys. Okay. I appreciate your support.
Yeah. So keep that going. I noticed a few of my clients, they reposted the show you did. Who is that with?
That was on Blood, Sweat, and Gear with Skip Hill and Andrew Barry.
And Andrew Barry,
it was like a whole
great
deep dive
episode about insulin. Yeah. Great episode.
If you guys have like all your clients reaching out now and asking like, why aren't I using Lantus, Ron? And that's now you know why.
That's Andrew Barry's fault.
Get it.
It's their fault. Both of their fault.
Yeah. No, the mythical Lantus is come up many times. Okay. So what are we talking about? Can Andrew Jack win the Olympia? Is that the question?
That was it.
Everyone saw him take Texas for the third time in a row.
Yeah.
Is that third? That's 3 times the charm, right?
Yes, sir. I actually know this one because he wrote it. So I know this is true for once.
Yeah. And, what do you think of that? How did he look there?
Well, your cartoon character.
Yeah.
Here's my answer, and this is actually what I said when it pulled up was that's what a Mr. Olympia should look like to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I can't help but I want Mr. Olympia to be like it was back in the day. Like when you would see Jay, when you would see Ronnie, even though Jay is like maybe 5'9", he was so wide, it was just very, very, very cartoonish. And I like that. I like when I see Mr. Olympia in a t-shirt. I'm like, ooh, that's really big. And Andrew Jack has that and more because he's so tall as well.
Yeah.
So he was nuts to me.
Absolutely massive, complete runaway victory. Just like absolute curb stomp of the entire show. And definitely sent a message that he's not the same Andrew Jack that we saw last year or the year before. The improvements were wild. What did you think, Scott? Like when you saw the videos of him, I
immediately thought, what was the show he didn't do? Was it the Arnold? He was slated to do, and then he pulled out. And I just remember he had some stuff come up and he was like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. And for some reason I flash back to that and I'm like, it doesn't even matter. Like, I don't even remember the rest of the season now. None of it matters because like the way he looks now, and we knew that he was capable of so much. It was just a matter, because I remember like us talking about him just a few years ago. I'm like, yeah, he looks really good. I remember seeing him at the Arnold, 2 years ago, was it? And it was like, yeah, he looks good. He just needs to put more size on and he could be really crazy. And then all of a sudden when I saw what he looked like there, I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what we were imagining he could be.
I remember when he first kind of showed up on the scene, and my impression of him was, wow, he's awesome, but like he's not going to amount to much because, he's already, how old is he now?
40 something years old. Yeah.
Right. Like he's already 40, but then, we realized that he had really only been training seriously for like a very short period of time.
Yeah.
So then it expands this massive runway of possible improvements due to his training age being 20 years younger than his, actual chronological age.
Right.
So, and now that's what we're seeing. And it's like, damn, like, this is the type of thing that like a really, really gifted 23-year-old does by the time they turn 28, 30. You know, he's doing it in like his 40s. It's nuts.
Yeah.
So,
and then the next thing I thought was we saw pictures of Hadi, and he is looking like just freaking insane. I thought like we've had conversations where we were like, Hadi looks incredible, but how much better can he get from here? That was the first thing I thought when I saw this new video of him. I'm like, oh my God,
that much better.
Yeah.
yeah.
I was going to add though too with Andrew, because I was shocked that you guys didn't grab it already, is he learned how to pose.
Oh yeah.
Like his posing was and it still could be better, but I mean, he looked like an amateur with a top 5 Olympia physique posing a year ago.
Yeah.
Like, I was never a great poser, but I know what it looks like when it's good. And I would watch him and I'm like, why are you so good? And I always felt like, why is this not being checked? Why is this box not being checked? You know what I mean? And it's been checked now. It was awesome to see him hitting shots correctly. I'm a little surprised that they didn't alter his side tricep after what Tyler had to say about hitting it properly. Hitting it from the side, at least hitting it from the side first, and then transitioning into his favorite version, which is like a most muscular ab side try.
Kind of Sean Roden thing that Sean Roden did for like a flashy sort of finisher, and then everyone copied it thinking that was how you were supposed to hit a side try.
I just had a client actually that competed 2 weeks ago, and he sent me his updates, and all of a sudden they were that way, and I was like, hey, are you hitting the side try the right way first? He's like, no, this looks so much better. And I said, well, I want you to read the name of the pose. Side try.
Side tricep.
Stay on the side. And then step into the second one.
And also, here's a little thing for everyone out there who's trying to pose like their favorite bodybuilder. You're not them. And Tyler Mannion, the head judge, literally did a video telling people not to do that.
Yeah.
So are you going to copy your favorite bodybuilder, or are you going to listen to the head judge of the IFBB who specifically told you not to do that?
Yeah.
He's like, it's a side try. We want to see the side of your leg. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, that's why. Because remember, his whole thing was when he pointed it out, because he said when Andrew beat Hunter, he's like, but Hunter won the side try because he hit it right.
Yeah. And same thing with the ab thigh. I see so many classic guys. They do the ab thigh, they crunch their abs for 1 second, and then they pull into a vacuum. And Tyler specifically said it's an ab thigh. We're looking at your abs.
Yeah.
We're looking for your abs. We're comparing your abs to the guy next to you.
Yeah.
And there's literally guys that don't really hit their abs at all, and then they get last place in that pose. So do you want to hand a pose away because your weird ego thinks that you look better in a vacuum?
You might.
Makes no sense.
If that, it's funny. I was telling this to my client because I said, you got to remember, like, you're essentially changing the pose, and it's no different than when they call the front double, since mine is terrible, if I turned around and did a rear double. Like, well, I look better in that pose.
Yeah, judges don't care.
Isn't it the same? Like, I'm just showing you the one I look better in. Just like you said, if you think you look better in a vacuum, well, that's fine, but that's not the pose. So then Dusty's turning around, and Ronnie Coleman never faces the front his whole career because he doesn't have to.
Yeah. So I don't know. When the head judge of the IPB puts a video out telling you to do a side try, the only guys that can get away with not listening to him are like Andrew Jacked, maybe in some shows, as long as he wins the other poses.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he still is losing that pose.
Yeah, he still loses the pose
to some of these guys. So it's like I wouldn't suggest him purposely losing a pose at the Olympia.
No, good point.
No,
because there's a couple guys in that top mix that, I mean, when you really look at the Olympia and start comparing, it's like you have to win the shots that are yours. Like,
oh, you can't give away a single thing, man.
I mean, the cool thing is you don't have to hit the rear double at all because Derek's hitting it, so just let it roll. Save your energy. Do not hit that shot.
So it's kind of funny you mentioned the rear double because I looked hard at Andrew Jack's poses, and I mean, he looks unbelievable. But his rear double still could be tighter. The back, he's got the glutes in, but they could be tighter because I'm looking at him and thinking, shit, he looks good. But then I'm thinking of Derek.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, he's still not even close to beating Derek in that pose.
Right.
And I mean, if Hadi can't beat Derek in the back double, I don't know who can beat Derek in the back double. We know Samson. We know Samson's goal is to bring his back up a lot for this show. Yeah. And so this Olympia is going to be crazy. I'm excited. I mean, Samson, jacked, Hadi, and Derek. I mean, obviously there's lots of guys that are going to be fantastic, but we know these guys are all going to be extremely dangerous.
Yeah.
So
I think about
sidebar question for you guys because it's in my head. But is Derek the top 3 rear double of all time?
Yeah, I think easily.
I mean, and you could argue him to be somewhere in the top 3, not necessarily just third. It's like, it's bonkers to say that. But I remember last year seeing it. I mean, I saw it on the internet, but seeing it in person, I was like, I almost need to see you standing next to those guys because you know how you defaulted that Ronnie was by far the best, and you defaulted that this. And then when you start looking backwards, you're like, I would have liked to see Phil's rear double against Ronnie's rear double, like at their prime.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be as blowout as I think. You know what I mean? So
it's a good question. And then you had Dorian's rear double. You know, if you think of like the nastiest ones, who is it? It's Dorian, Ronnie, Phil. And then Derek enters the picture.
And then Flex
so
is in there somewhere.
One of those guys. Yeah, then you got guys like Flex Lewis, and there's some crazy rear doubles, but I'm just thinking.
I was talking about Flex Wheeler. His was just nuts.
Oh, Flex Wheeler, yeah.
Flex Wheeler's rear double. He was never hard enough, so I understand why it wasn't in your mind.
Yeah, like I'm just thinking, like, who had the most shredded glutes of those guys?
Ronnie.
You know, well, all of them. Ronnie, Phil, and Dorian all were peeled to the bone, and then throw Derek in there.
Oof.
It's tough.
So with the question though, if we're all saying that that Andrew could win the Olympia, like it's a feasible thing, Ron, what does he have to do? I mean, obviously you're saying he has to get a little harder, but I don't think he doesn't have to be as hard as them. You know, it's not a conditioning contest; it's a bodybuilding contest, and he has enough of the things they don't have.
Right.
That as long as he's got to close the gap. Don't get me wrong. If he showed up like this, I think he's third. For sure.
I think if his glutes were a little more striated, just a little drier and a little more striated, it would close a lot of gap in that mental hang up that judges have when you turn to the back and they go, who's got the most striated glutes? Every judge asks it. Every judge says it whether they mean it or not, that whose glutes are the most striated.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're in that inner circle, okay, you sort of like bounce to the top of their mind, and you got to be able to pull that. You don't have to win every pose. We know that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Hadi's chest was harder than Derek's, and you know, everyone's had something that they didn't dominate on. Like, I never liked Ronnie's side tricep. I didn't think he knew how to hit it properly. I didn't even really like his side chest. Yeah. But he still won, you know? And Jay didn't win every single pose every time, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So you have to have enough, like you said, you have to have enough. So I would say conditioning in the glutes in the back, just a little drier and a little harder. And of course, you know what happens when you get a little tighter in the back double bicep, you look thicker and bigger.
Right.
So then what happens to his pose? You know, does the pose itself get crazier? So, but
valid.
Also another thing about Andrew winning the Olympia is, let's say Hadi comes in at his all-time best and Derek comes in at his all-time best, that makes it a lot harder for Andrew to do that. I think you have to be at your best, and you have to catch, maybe in Andrew Jack's case, you might have to catch a few people slightly.
They can't be at their all-time best. Like you said,
can't be at their all-time best.
If they match something, then you've got a fighting chance. Derek at his all-time best to me is in this lineup is unbeatable.
I mean, if Lunsford comes in 5% better in every possible way, I mean,
let me throw something at you guys. So, okay, let's go back a couple of years to the Arnold Classic top 3, and we had Samson, and we had Nick, and we had Andrew Jack. And as awesome as Nick is, he was exposed for his shape, standing between the two tall, super pretty dudes. He was exposed for that shape. So if we're talking this Olympia, we've got Hadi, we've got Derek, Samson, and Andrew. How is that going to make Hadi and Derek look standing next to the two tall, pretty guys? Like, is that, are they going to be exposed? We've heard a lot of people say, like, I still can't get it out of my head. Was it Jay? He said, I can't get it out of my head that these guys are shorter. I always feel like a Mr. Olympia should be tall. Is that going to play in any way when you see the 4 of them lined up there and you go, oh, wow, these guys just look like shorter and thicker versus, the two tiny waists? I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is I'm really just curious to see him against Samson and see, like, with this package, what's going to happen. And then how is that going to factor in with the 2 other guys who have a very different physique?
Yeah.
It plays into it. Here's what I think on that question, Scott. First off, that's what I was meaning. And that was something that I talked to Ed about at the backstage, was he feels the same way, that he's used to Mr. Olympia being just a dominant structure.
Yes. Okay.
Even.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get what you mean.
Because they're just big ass dudes. Like, I mean, as somebody who just wanted to be a freak in bodybuilding, if I could snap my fingers, I would be freaky the way I was, but I'd be 6'4", because it would just be like, holy shit, freaky. It's just another thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think for that to happen, Andrew and Samson have to have made up enough size and conditioning.
Okay.
Because you can only, it's one of those scenarios where I totally agree with what you're saying. When it's 2 and 2, or even 2 and 3, if Nick isn't, that they call out a 5-man top 5, which I think is a pretty reasonable guess that could be the top 5.
Yep.
The 2 tall guys can end up looking dominant, or they can end up looking soft.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
I've seen that. Like, that's one thing I've always loved about conditioning, is that's where you see, like, at the regional level and even the national level, a lot of light heavies and heavies winning the whole show over the supers, because the super's so big, and then they end up next to a light heavy and a heavy. They're just sliced. You're like, oh, he's fat, and he's not fat, but compared to them, it just really, like you said, it's like drawing out the lines. That's a tricky thing. I mean, Derek has that weird thing where, although he's short and also enormous, his waist is still tiny, which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
So it'll be exciting. It's nice to have, like, 3 years in a row that I'm going to the Olympia and I don't know who's winning.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah, man. When I say that, like, I'm genuinely excited and just talking about this now, I'm getting, like, freaking more pumped, because we can't count Nick Walker out of that. So I guess that would be my top 5. I don't know the order, but that would literally be my top 5. Any of them could be anywhere,
Nick Walker's extremely dangerous, and I mean, still getting better. That's the other thing too. Still improving. So it's going to be great. I don't have tickets yet. I'm sort of assuming I'll wind up with tickets, right, Dusty?
We always end up with tickets. I've never purchased a ticket. That's weird. If I ever didn't have them, I'd be like, oh, but I would never buy them in advance. I bought tickets for a hockey game after the show, but that's different. No one wants to give those to me. Which is rude, because they're quite expensive. I do want to say this real quick before we move on. Jordan Hutchison and Nathan Epler were awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And I just have to point it out, because if it weren't for the fact, like if they had taken second and third to anyone else, we would be talking about them. But Andrew was such a, like, because we're immediately talking about the Olympia, not the Texas show.
Right.
I just have to bring those two up because, number one, Jordan got better and better and better this year. First off, his jump from last year to this year was dramatic, but he and Chris Tuttle are working some magic. Yeah. Like, it, obscene difference. And then, Nathan's just a dream physique shape. And you're thinking, with what these two guys have done in a couple of years as pros, they will be people we're talking about leading into Arnold's and Olympias down the line. So I just want to make sure that they get a mention because they both blew my mind.
What was Nathan doing before? Was he ramming himself into classic or 212? I can't remember.
I assume it was 212. I don't remember, but I know.
And then he said, screw that, and just went open.
Yeah, it's a great look for him. It's I loved watching because in prejudging, I think Nathan's getting second, and then in finals, Jordan got better. And they rewarded him. And I knew based on, if you watch enough shows, when you see where they're standing, I'm like, oh, yeah, they're giving it to Jordan. They moved him. He's on the other side, of Andrew Jack now. So it was exciting. Those two will be going toe-to-toe a lot in the coming years, which will be fun.
Okay. Good show. Good to see. Exciting. I like it when a show happens and it's actually like relevant to the Olympia.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it makes people talk. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of shows where like, oh, yeah, that guy looked great. He won that show. Okay. But you're not like, there's no like chatter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did Chris get back to you?
Schedule? Yes, he did.
Can you tell us what he said?
Can I tell you? Absolutely nothing.
Well, tell the audience what you asked him first because they weren't here for that.
I just said, what does he have to do between now and the Olympia to win?
Yeah.
And he said, show up on time.
I love Chris.
And then he said, is that the right answer? There might be more to it.
There might be more to it.
I can hear him saying that. I can hear that.
I love that the answer will never be a completely straight answer.
Of course
No, he's not going to give you the actual strategy. He's not going to go into depth and give you 5 points that they've decided they're going to work on.
We're going to try to tighten the glutes up and bring a little more fullness to the upper delts.
More fullness,
the outer,
the clavicular head of the pec.
Yeah.
How about I just bring you in the way I'm going to bring you in?
Yeah, how about I just bring you in the way I want it? Yeah. You're going to look the way you're going to look.
Yeah.
Oh,
you're going to eat these carbs, and then you're just going to look a certain way, and that's how you're going to look. Yeah.
That'll be that.
Okay. What's next, buddy? We got some over-unders, don't we, from Dusty?
We got a bunch of them, yeah.
Or do we have more questions we want to do?
We had questions.
YouTube listeners.
We don't have a lot of YouTube questions, which I should throw that out there right now, guys. We could use, if you guys want us to do questions, then definitely comment with your questions. Of course, like bodybuilding stuff is great, but we also love all your off-topic stuff, all your overrated, underrated stuff. So this episode, definitely load us up with questions. Plus, of course, that helps us to get like boosted in the algorithm and all that stuff. So thank you.
All important. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So what do we have here, Dusty? We had a bunch of your questions that were lined up that you grabbed. Yep. I don't know. Is there anything you guys want to start with in particular? I know you had all those overrated, underrateds.
Well, I was thinking that we start with this listener question that was sent to Ron because we didn't have time for it last week, and I thought it was great. And it's since we were just in bodybuilding, we're going off of bodybuilding. Okay. The question was, what are some of the main changes that happen when you get older in regards to how you view what's important in life? And I read that and I looked at Nikki and I go, well, we could do a whole show on that. There's an hour. I mean, so tightening this up will be difficult, but I'm curious to hear your guys's because I'm like a different human.
You are.
So my main thing is I know lots of people who have FOMO. Fear of missing out. Like they'll be like, oh, I got to go to this concert. I got to go to this event. And oh, you guys are going to Vegas? We got to go to Vegas. And like, it's like they got to do all this stuff. I have absolutely zero FOMO as I get older. I don't give a shit what you're doing. I am absolutely at my happiest hanging around the house with Emily and the dogs. Couldn't be happier. I really gotta like make myself do the odd thing, actually, to be honest, because I'm like, oh, we should go to something, like, you know, or someone will say, hey, do you want to come to this event? And it's like, well, it is one of our birthdays. We should do something for a birthday.
Yeah,
like, let's go. You know what I mean? Like that sort of thing. And also too, I know that I'm a bit spoiled because, you know, I get to go to the Olympia with Mutant, and I get to go to the Arnold with Mutant, and I get to do all this cool stuff with Mutant. So I don't feel the need to go do other stuff. But it's not just the big events, it's the little things too. Like, you know, my weekend is not about like, oh, the weekend is here.
Yeah.
It never even crosses my mind. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's Saturday? Oh,
do you take the weekend off, or do you work? What do you do? I mean, I know you coach, so you're coaching on the weekend, but like, do you go to the gym and stuff too?
Yeah, I usually go to the gym every single day, except sometimes I don't go to the gym on Sundays.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll just like check in with the staff, and if I don't have to do anything that day, if I don't have to go fix a cable or something, sometimes I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to go to the gym. I actually make myself not go.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll be like, I'm just not going to go. The gym's going to be okay. It'll be fine. Staff can run it. You know, Corey was in, or Ditto had to go train anyways. He was in already. Like, you know, like you don't have to be there every day. So I'll make myself sometimes not go on Sundays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just super happy at home hanging out. You know,
What about you, Scott? This is more me dying to know your guys'. I'm like, I'm not even here.
Well, I'm excited to hear yours too, Dusty, because since I've known you, you've had like some big changes, you know. So I'll be interested to hear that. But I would say, how has it evolved, man? I recognize how important it is to be present now, you know, because you can, and even just like in my work day. It can be my day is so repetitive. I sit here at this desk, you know, podcasting with you guys, podcasting with somebody else. There's like always like one task after the next. And I need to make sure that I take time to like appreciate life and be present. Because here's the thing, like I love doing what I do, but it's not the reason I'm alive. You know what I mean? Like I do all this stuff so that I can live. And so I need to make sure I still live. So, and at times, like right now, I need to get better at it, to be completely honest with you. But like Sundays, sometimes we'll have like, we call it like spontaneous Sunday, where we do something that was like just not in our normal repertoire. Maybe we go for a walk at the park. It's an hour. You know what I mean? Like we take that 1 hour. I can always make sure that I find that kind of time. And in the past, maybe I wouldn't have thought of that kind of thing. So I'd say like trying to be mindful and trying to really appreciate, or like our Friday date days. That's like our sacred time. And I guess it's like spending time with the people that matter to me. That's what I recognize is important, because I recognize that, man, in the scheme of things, the time we are going to be here is short. So I don't want to get to the end of it and be like, shit, this is it. I wish I would have, you know, this. I wish I would have spent more time with my people, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree. I would say for me, it's the easiest transition was actually how I approached goals and things I do. Because I've always been very goal-oriented, which I know you two both are as well. But that was my entire life. So striving was such a thing. It was all I did. Like, you know, whether it was bodybuilding, business, whatever, it was like, and as soon as I would be right on the doorstep of a goal and I knew it was going to come true, I'd make the next goal, and I didn't give a shit that this one was achieved. Like, I mean, didn't even blink.
Yeah.
Like, it's just on to the next. And actually, I've talked about this on the show before. Dante had mentioned to me many times, he's like, hey, you need to like recognize some of your wins. And I was like, no, not really. I need to win again. You know, and which is funny, because if you're not enjoying the wins, and I don't mean actual wins, but whatever these goal achievements are, then what is the value of the next one?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you got to like throw a big party, but just pause for a second and go, nice, the effort I put in, you know. So that was one of the main things I've really worked on now is, and the best way to do that is by showing gratitude and feeling gratitude for what you have right now.
Yes.
Which I've also found, as much as I'm not into the tree hugger whole thing, that gratitude for what I'm getting now and how it's going seems to be bringing more to me as well, just by being aware, or maybe I'm just more aware when it happens. I see more of the good things, and kind of move forward with them. So those things have been huge. And then the last one, which is actually funny because it's different than Ron, is I never did anything. So we do a lot of stuff, but it's very just like, what do you want to do? So it's not even like we hunt it down, but like, coincidentally, like I told you, Ron, actually 2 days after you're here, Smashing Pumpkins come, and we have tickets. But it was one of those things where we're like in the gym, and I was like, anyone coming that you want to see soon? And Nikki was like, I think. And then she pulls it up to see, and she's like, literally when she typed it in, Smashing Pumpkins pre-sale was starting in a minute. So we just stood there in the gym. She timed it, bought the tickets, and we were set. And I'm like, these kind of things I like to do because this is the big transition. I used to be a things person. I bought things.
Right.
I do not care about things anymore. Like, I have them, so I'm sure that's confusing to people. Like, well, you have 2 nice trucks. Like, but I don't care. If those trucks became Honda Civics tomorrow, fine. But I want to actually like live and have experiences more than things. And I used to be very much watch, bag, Mercedes.
Yeah.
And on that note, my yard guys are here.
The whole pack knows too. You got a pack now, literally. That's a pack.
I'm very lucky to have some things that I really enjoy. Like, I've got my guitar collection and I've got some stuff. But you'd be surprised how little I own. Like, in relation to, we live in a condo, and I'm the stripped down one. Like, my closet is not full. My drawers are half full.
No kidding.
Like, I get rid of stuff. I bought some new shoes the other day because I had 3 pairs of shoes that had holes in them.
Yeah.
So if I'm gonna add 3 pairs of shoes, 3 pairs of shoes go in the garbage. I only have so many slots in my shoe rack, and that's as many shoes as I'm allowed to have. And I don't care. A pair's got to go. Which pair's going? Like,
that's a hard touch.
I like to have very little stuff. I'm sort of anti-possession other than what you truly need. Like, I use my bike, I use my guitars. Other than that, I don't really own anything.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So I have just the stuff I actually use to make me happy. I don't really have anything else. I get rid of shit. I don't care. I give away so many clothes. You'd be blown away how much fucking cool shit I've put in a donation bag. Like, just like bags of gasp stuff. Like, I give some of the double X stuff to some of my clients that can like fit the big triple X gasp I used to wear. But like, other than that, I just get rid of shit. I jettison stuff immediately, and I've tried to become less and less attached to possessions. I don't own a bad idea. I don't own a ring. I have 1 ring for when I won nationals, but I never wear it other than like once a year. I don't have jewelry. I don't have like anything really. So I just don't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
Jason Bourne, baby.
Ring? When do you wear that ring? Do you wear the ring at nationals? When do you wear that ring?
When I MC our bodybuilding show, I put it on.
Okay. All right. See, I knew there was a thing.
Under the lights, moving my hands around. I think maybe it flashes a bit. I don't have anything else.
That's right. Reminding him, hey, this old man did what you're doing right now. Knock it off.
Right. It's funny because when I wear that ring, I get so many people. They're like, oh, you have a ring on. Because I'm the guy that has no jewelry, so it's noticeable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny.
Love it.
It was a good one.
What else we got?
I want to answer the gun one. I want to do the gun one, Dusty.
Yes.
Do the gun one.
This is an important one. This was for me.
I like this question because this went like kind of over my head. I'm not American, so I didn't get what the whole phrasing of it was.
Hold the whole thing up. This was very important.
Did you say this was your question, Dusty? This is something you were asking?
Yes, I'm curious about, and I'll tell you why after you answer.
Wow. So that means, first of all, okay, let me read the question here. He says, is the Daniel Defense AR overrated for use by most enthusiasts? Knowing value and lack of skill, wouldn't you consider the Palmetto State Armory a better purchase, or would you at least go mid-range like a BCM or an Arrow? So first of all, that tells me that Dusty has been doing his research. Like, Dusty's been doing his research.
Diving in a little here.
Yes.
Thanks to my buddy at the cigar bar that he's quickly becoming a gun guy.
Yeah.
So he's been educating me, and he brought this up, and I said, I got to know Scott's opinion.
So, okay, here's my thought is now Daniel Defense, it's a great, great rifle, and it's high end.
Was that like a brand?
Yes, it's a brand. This is
right here.
This is a this I brought show and tell here.
This is no good.
This is a Geisley Super Duty, and it's an 11.5 inch barrel. So this one requires like a special permit to have it as a rifle, but you can get.
If just to be clear, if someone was trying to steal my car from my driveway, that could handle.
That's
the
the one you stopped.
If you lived in if you live in Texas, yes,
or Toronto.
Yes.
Yeah. So Toronto, just stand out there because they're gonna try to steal it.
Yeah. So here's a thought though. So one of the big things to consider is not only let me cover the rifle part first. I think something like a BCM, like mid tier, would be good. Palmetto, if that's what you could afford, then I'd say, okay, get what you can afford. But if you can afford, it's only going to be, a few $100s more. You're going to get something that is going to be super reliable, and it's going to last. Something like the Geisley or something like the Daniel Defense. If you were heavy use, if you're shooting all the time, thousands and thousands of rounds, it's more likely gonna hold up longer for you. So there's gonna be that aspect. I don't see you going to the range every week. You know what I mean? But something that would be.
I live in the South.
Something mid tier would be good, like a BCM
driveway use.
No, so the reason that I asked, and it was a topic we had, I think I've discussed my Caesarnomics before, correct? Which is Little Caesars Pizza.
Okay.
I base all pizza against them because of the price. So like if I go somewhere and the pizza's really good, but it's $30, I'm like, yeah, but it's $7 at Little Caesars. Is it that much better? Is it 4 times better for their cheese pizza than this cheese pizza?
It's a different thing. It's kind of like
so with this, the reason I brought it up though is because a guy like me goes in and I just buy the cool one because this is the best one.
Yeah, you don't need that.
Wouldn't it be smarter to invest the difference in money in ammo and actually learn how to shoot it?
Well, yeah, that was going to be my third point. My second point, though, was after you get that, you're also going to need to get an optic, and you're going to want to, if you're going to use it for home defense, you're going to want to put a light on it, and that's going to, add up several $100 more. Keep in mind too, though, like you could get away with a Palmetto, but if you could afford to go a little bit higher, it's something that's going to be extremely dependable. And keep in mind that like this is for personal defense. This is for like it could mean your life, right? So if it's a few $100 more to mean like safety, then I'd say, hey, I spend that money.
But you don't think the jump to like the Daniel Defense where it's that much more is worth it?
No,
that was the real question.
If you were like a heavy user and you were going to be out like really beating on it, then I would say, yeah, go for it. Like for me, the Super Duty, I take classes with it. I put thousands and thousands of rounds through it. But you're absolutely right. Like invest the money, the additional money into actually learning how to use it, because if you can't use it, it's not any good to anybody. Check out the 14.5 inch barrel. They have like a 14.5 pinned and welded, so that makes it 16 inches, and that's like the legal length of a rifle. So it's going to be a little bit shorter. I'll send you a link later.
Yeah, the reason I brought all this up is because I have the same thing with Harleys. Harleys are rich man toys more than people who ride. So what happens is you have these guys that buy a bike, and then they have the engine tuned and changed out to a bike they are afraid of, because they literally like the bike is better than they are. And I think so. I was wondering the crossover. So you answered my question. So sorry for those of you who don't care, but there was a reason I needed to know that.
Hey, there's somebody else out there that needed to know that too. And there's a whole bunch of our audiences going, talk more guns.
Yeah, there's a lot of people
because I get messages from you guys.
They're proud of me right now. They're like, look at him doing homework.
I get messages from all the gun guys. You guys are great.
Yeah. We have a separate, like Scott and I actually have like a separate text message where I bother him about guns relatively regularly. Scott, what about this?
That's my answer.
He answers those texts faster than any other text. I told him, I'm choking again. I got nothing. Then afterwards, I said, I found this gun. And he goes, oh, really? I'm like, wait, what?
Okay.
There's a lot of little things too,
so
like
much out of that.
the ammo you pick, because if you're using like home defense ammo, you're going to want to get something better. Like Black Hills is going to be your. We'll cover it. We'll cover it all, Dusty. We'll cover it all.
Yeah. I still like that really quiet gun you had in your backyard, Scott.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I do not know what you're talking about.
It must have been somebody else.
Must have been somebody. Oh, I got a lot of videos of guys in their backyard. It must have been someone else. Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens. It happens.
Okay, let's do some overrated, underrateds.
All right, you guys ready?
Okay.
I'm going to load these out. First, Monster energy drinks.
Overrated. Man, I don't like energy drinks. I
like them. I like them, and I will go overrated. And by the way, guys, if you don't like my answers, I'm sorry, but you're the ones who told me that I needed to get more decisive and take a side. So screw Goodfellas again. In case you didn't hear me say it the first time.
Cases of sugar-free Monster for this house every month and drink one every day, and they are overrated. So it's like a habit thing more than anything. That's why I pointed all that out first. I drink them because I drink one every day. They do absolutely nothing for me. They taste good.
No, you're addicted to the caffeine. You need it just to survive now. That's what.
Hey, I've been addicted to a lot of things. This is the least dangerous of them.
A wise man told me once, choose your addictions wisely.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Overrated, underrated. Watching the Olympics.
Generally overrated. There's a couple of events I absolutely love, but we had the Olympics on the TV at the gym like the whole time. We put them on the sports channel. Yeah. And like 95% of the time I'd look up and go, I don't care about this event, or I don't care about this footage right now. There was only a couple of moments that I cared about. My favorite Olympic event is the men's 4x100 relay.
Yeah.
Because I love the 100 meter sprint. I think the men's 100 meter, that's the ultimate test of, who's the fastest man on the planet, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a super definitive, absolutely unarguable, event, but it's over in like 9.6 seconds, right? Whereas you take the men's 4x100 and you add that team element, and then you add the pass of that baton, which is like a slightly technical element. Like the Americans fucked up their pass, right? In the final, they had a bad pass and it cost them. And so you wind up with that element of like, this isn't a guarantee. If the men's 100 meter, if Usain Bolt's in it, he's winning because that all his trial times are like better than everybody else's. So like he's going to win. But when you do the 4x100, you add that element of like, man, this could be anybody's race, and, this year Canada came out with the gold. And it's just so exciting. I also loved watching the women's 4x100 relay because, they're only a second slower than the men. They're just blasting. And when they all come around, they all start staggered because they start on the corner. So you're not really sure who's in the lead, right? Because they blast out of the blocks and they come around the corner and they're not lined up, and they do the first pass and they're coming down the back track and they're not lined up. And then they do the second pass, and as they come around that bend and they do that final pass, they're all lined up, and you realize who's actually in the lead. And they come around that bend, and the American girl, she just torched that anchor, just melted everybody's faces. And she's the shortest one, so her legs are moving faster than everybody's, and it was awesome. And then the Canadians came around the corner. They had all smooth handoffs. And they came around the corner, and you realize they're in the lead, and you're like, oh, this guy's not letting this go. And they just blast. I just love the 4x100. It's such a crazy, intense event, and I just have always loved it. Back from the days when like Canada used to win the gold medal with the Donovan Bailey team, and he was winning everything, and it was just that's just a real Canadian event to me, and so I was real happy we won the gold again. Yeah.
So, Dusty, I was going to say overrated, and then I heard Ron give like the whole spiel.
That was after he said overrated, by the way.
No, I'm saying underrated. Underrated, I'm saying no because of that.
So, I'll tell you the one thing that I enjoy.
Oh, Dusty's got some
I have to
barkage.
pause for a blower and 3 dogs.
Oh,
That's
man.
okay. I'll talk again.
Yeah, tell us about one of the other events, Ron.
Another event that can be cool is judo.
Oh yeah, did you see there was a guy who got busted for what was it? He tested positive for Dianabol and equipoise, which I doubt he was using those. It was probably like metabolites, you know?
Yeah, it must have just been in his protein powder.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so I could finally say the one thing that I enjoyed watching the other day, but it wasn't because I was watching it. We just happened to be passing through, and they had on the screen fencing.
Oh yeah.
And the reason I was so amazed was fencing is like impossible to even see what the hell's going on. And there's people literally 150 feet away. Well, I'm like, you can't even see. Why are you here? They didn't have screens or anything. And I'm like, what? Are they just killing time? They want to go watch something else? Is something else happening after this? I was fascinated. I mean, I literally kept looking at Nikki. I was so irritated. She's like, relax. I'm like, well, why are they there? Go get a hot dog. Like, get your life together. You have nothing better to do in Paris than watch nothing. You just see arms moving around. I was watching it in person, didn't know what the hell was going on. But anyways.
Doing it would be different. In fact, I asked Victoria once, I was like, if I were to like get the equipment and stuff, would you take fencing lessons with me? And she was kind of weird. She rolled her eyes. But I wanted to do it. I wanted to figure it out.
Oh my gosh. No, I'm more into the table tennis. I think that's intense.
Yeah. My dad used to play competitive table tennis when I was a kid.
Yeah, me too. Competitive amongst my friends. But we did what we called, can I say this on the show? I'm going to say it anyways. We called it Polish ping pong. So you would play shirtless.
Okay.
And you played a 5. No, you played a 5. And then if you lose, you use the paddle to cover your face, and the other guy whips the ball at you as hard as he can. It leaves welts.
Oh, wow.
So losing hurts.
They should do that in the Olympics.
Oh, it's so much better. Absolutely. But if they're going to do it with that version, then I want the volleyball girls to play. Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, the beach volleyball was a popular one too, eh?
Yes. I don't know if we've covered this before, but it needs to be covered again. Business class travel. Overrated, underrated.
We did do this.
Are you paying for it?
Always this. I have a Caesarnomics on that, by the way. And the answer is if you go to upgrade and you're paying for yourself, anything around $60 an hour is worth it. Like you're getting a screaming deal.
Oh, you have a rate.
Yeah, I figured out the math on where I'm okay with it.
I'm
like,
very happy to hear this.
I don't want to spend $1,000 for like 5 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm like, it's not because I already have the premium economy seat to begin with. So like my seat's not terrible. But the upgrade from there, if it's like, $500 for a 10-hour flight, I can't pay that fast enough. And it's like, but when it starts getting north of that, we're getting wild. Also, the short flights aren't worth it. Like they're quick, where nothing really happens except for you have a bigger seat. I'm like, no. I need a meal. I need drinks that I'm going to say no to, but I get offered them. Yeah, I want to drink out of a glass cup. I like that. The hot nuts are a nice touch that we got when we went to Arizona. That was a good little thing. We did the upgrade. It was Nikki's first, and I believe we are flying business for the rest of our lives now. Anyways, I'm a huge fan. Yes, you haven't flown that before, have you, Scott? That's how I know we covered this.
Yeah. Nope. Never have, and I'm going to keep it that way. You
have the math now. Trust me, you have the math.
No, because then I can't go back. You
can go back when it's an extra $2,000. I have no problem not paying it.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not spending $2,000 extra for 5.5 hours. Not a chance.
I have a running ticker in my head with my upgrade points on Air Canada.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty high up on the Air Canada status. So every year I get a good bundle of upgrade points. And I always factor in like, okay, I got to do these 3 long trips. So I'm going to save because like 20 points to upgrade. So I got to make sure I save because I don't want to upgrade all my short trips and then not have, So I'll eat it on the short trip and take the crappy seat to make sure those long trips are done right.
Yeah. So you want that Australia trip upgraded, I promise.
God, that's so. Your Caesarnomics apply
Yes.
up to a certain point.
Yeah, no, there's a thing where you just have to go, whatever,
And then there's
it's 14
like
hours.
a point. There's like a mental safety point. I've done that Australia flight 6 times now,
Yeah.
7 times, and it seems to get harder every time.
Whew.
And also the Dubai, Dubai to Toronto is like 13 hours nonstop. Those, man, when you first do them, you're like, oh wow, it's a long flight.
Yeah.
And you watch 3 movies and you get to sleep and eat some meals.
Yeah.
And the more you do it, the more you're like, I'm gonna fuck up this plane, man.
I'm going to kill somebody.
Like, I gotta get off this plane, man. And you start to be like, oh, I wonder what it would take for someone to snap in midair and just start freaking out.
Start pulling that handle.
Yeah, yeah.
He said pulling the handle. Oh, man. Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I
And you
do.
start to, oh, geez. It starts to wear on you.
I upgraded the Dubai trip immediately. As soon as I saw the distance, I was like, and we're upgrading.
That's wild.
gonna
Our
break even.
Australia trip was nuts because our tickets got messed up or the flight got messed up. So they had to like figure something out for us to go the next day. And I think we did something like 15 hours to Korea and then like a 1 hour layover. And then from there to Australia for like another. It ended up being like a 25-hour flight is what it came out to by the time we were said and done.
That's where I grabbed the cord and I put it around my neck. Anyway.
But I was with Victoria though, and I was like, we're on
They're gonna
vacation.
find me in the bathroom.
It's like we're on vacation. We're just like doing our thing. So I didn't mind. She didn't like it. I didn't care.
I consider flights alone time. I don't care if you're with me.
Yeah,
Like,
I was like
you have
relaxing.
nothing to do with me.
Oh, really?
This is my area. Oh, yeah. Nikki and I got on the flight. She had her set. I had my setup. She's watching her shows. I'm doing my thing. I need to be in the zone.
I got Victoria to watch
long
movies
flight,
with
I'm
me.
in the zone.
We like shared an earbud and we like turned the screen so we could both see it.
There's this
earbud
really.
sharing?
We did that.
no.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, Ron
what-
would never
what-
You
share
try
earbuds.
AirPods. Try AirPods, and then you guys can just both link up. You can have 2 sets. It's wild.
What Emily and I do is we get the movie lined up and then we press play together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Look at you guys.
So
You
we're
guys are
watching
such
our
cute
own
couples.
screens.
We just watch completely different shit.
Yeah. Your movie
She's
sucks.
like, I do not want to watch this nonsense that you're watching. I'm like, that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here. Oh, this is an important one. Overrated, underrated. The Olympia Expo.
I haven't been there in a couple of years, so
It's like I've stumped you guys. This is great. Because you have to ask yourself, are you a new fan or have you been doing this for 19 years?
20 plus. My first Olympia was 2002.
wow.
Mine was, yeah.
Did they even like have booths back then? Like, what was it?
Yeah, but they're made out of wood and you showed up on horses.
Yeah.
Yes, the expos were awesome back then.
In 2002,
That was
I've
back
never
when,
been.
like,
Yeah.
That was
Well,
back
they
when,
were-
like, people brought supplements and they're selling at the end of the weekend like a 5-pound whey for $5.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like people
2 for
were buying
$1.
so much crap to get out of there. It was a
The
different
expo
time.
back then was magical because, like, you know, we didn't have the access to people. So you'd run into someone, you'd be like, "Oh my God, it's Flex Wheeler," you know. And now it's like, you know, he's just following on Instagram. You see what he's doing. Like, it's just different, you
It
know.
was different.
Yeah, we used to like wear in 2000. I can comment on 2006, 2007, that era at the Arnold. People didn't like get dressed up to go to the expo either. You know what I mean? You just put on like your clothes. Like, this is what I train in. This is what I'm going to go to the expo in. And there's just like, there's a lot more normal. Now everybody's like fucking spray tanned and they ran a 20-week stack and they're showing off their physique, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's a show.
yeah, it really
Without a
is.
trophy.
Yeah. I find myself tempering. I don't want to look like I tried too hard for the expo, but I also don't want to look like I'm not prepared to be there because Mutant's paying me. So I try to meet that middle of the road. You know, I want to look presentable, but I also want to look
Cash.
like I'm not trying to compete with the kids.
Bodybuilding.
He shaves his head 2 days before, not the morning.
Yeah, little stubble.
That's what Ron did on dates too. I bet you know that back
Oh,
in the
for
day.
sure.
It's like he doesn't want to
Don't
look like
wanna-
he tried too hard.
I don't
You
want to
know?
look like you tried too hard.
He waited down the street for 7 minutes just to be late.
I'll split the bill, sure. Yeah.
All right, this is an important one.
Wait,
This
I
one,
didn't get to say underrated. All that said, it's still underrated. Sorry.
Yeah, underrated.
Actually, we just talked a lot, didn't answer. We are back to ourselves. This one I need the answer to. Nickelback. Overrated, underrated.
My answer has changed.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
My answer has changed.
Exciting. Come on, hurry up. Jesus.
So I'm not a big Nickelback fan. Like I don't like all their music.
But he knows all the words.
I have a lot more respect for them and appreciation for them as musicians and the wide variety of stuff that they have made over the years. And I think they're underrated as a band. And I think that you see that Ryan Reynolds skit where he talks about Nickelback? I don't know if it's a clip from a movie. Do you see that one?
I haven't.
I didn't.
Someone cracks a Nickelback joke and he's like, oh, because he's Canadian, right? Ryan Reynolds, right? And he's like, oh, yeah, you're going to make fun of them? Yeah, 11 million albums sold, 22 Grammy Awards, blah, 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 blah. And he starts listing like all the things that they've done. And it's really funny.
Amazing.
And then Nickelback Chad Kroeger responded by doing a video because Ryan Reynolds was nominated for an award or something. And he did one about Ryan Reynolds. He's like, oh yeah, no. Go ahead and make fun of the guy. He was Deadpool. He was blah, blah, blah. And he's just like listing all this stuff about Ryan Reynolds. It was well done. But
that's cool.
I actually made myself listen to a bunch of Nickelback a little while ago. Like this one afternoon, I was like, I'm making myself go through their albums because
Ryan listened to Nickelback to force himself to have a cultural experience. That technically is what you did.
Yeah. Because I heard someone talking about how wide of a variety their albums have been, like from almost being like kind of like, pop metal to like their new stuff has like a country, like almost a pop country sound to some of it. And I was like, I gotta check this out. So I listened to like 3 or 4 songs off every record. I was like, oh yeah, I can hear it. I can hear the evolution of the production and the songwriting changing, and like I could hear it over time, and it was really interesting. But I also know a guy who produces music, and he worked with Chad Kroeger by himself, like just Chad. I guess Chad was just banging some stuff out in the studio. Like, I don't know if he was going to do a solo album at one point or he was just doing some of his own music. And after he worked with Chad, he was like, holy shit, that guy's incredibly talented and is an amazing songwriter. And he can play heavy shit. Yeah, he likes his heavy shit, but that's not what their band's about. But I guess he can play heavy shit, and he was like really impressed by what he had done in the studio. So, anyways, that's my little bit. I'm gonna say they're underrated because people find I hate when people find it fashionable to hate something.
So that you just nailed the perfect transition, because I came downstairs the other day and Nikki was watching a documentary on them called "Love to Hate" or "Hate to Love." What was it? Love to Hate. And the whole thing was how they came up and how it became fashionable to hate them. And then now, because of TikTok and stuff, they've swung back through and are getting like they're getting like revitalized. Only the difference now is everyone loves them. So it's like funny. It's like the fact that people hated them for so long has made it now it's a meme to hate Nickelback while when your windows go up in your car, you start singing it real loud. And
right.
But it was actually, she said it was a great documentary. I didn't get to watch it because I was running out the door. But as soon as I saw it, like, Ron has to watch that, because I watched like 7 minutes of it when I was getting ready to walk out. And it's that situation where you're like, do I blow this meeting off and just watch this? Damn it. What do I do? So yes, I do. I'm in agreement with you, Ron. I think they're underrated just because I'm fascinated by something where there's a lot of music that I could say that I don't personally like. And then if you say, if you were to start the chorus, I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. But you can't do that with Nickelback. Everyone knows. It's like, come on.
They got some great songs.
Yeah. Like,
you can hate them all you want, but there's
you haven't jammed out to Rockstar occasionally.
Oh,
come on.
What a great song Rockstar is. Like, it's just, yeah. Or Animals. The song about banging in the back seat of the car. I mean, come on.
Nikki watched that, and then the next day I didn't say anything. We got in the truck, and she's like looking at her phone to go to the gym, and I just had all of them queued. I just pushed play. I started driving. Yeah. She goes, "Oh, we're going there today." I'm like, "Oh yeah,
that's great.
This is happening." Okay. Do we need more?
Where we at, Ron, with the show? How we doing here?
Yeah. Let's do a few more.
Okay.
All right, perfect, because I have an important one. Implants.
Oh, we did this one before, but maybe not everybody heard it. And
well,
maybe your opinions have changed. Maybe your opinions have changed.
Only if we're fools. Go ahead.
Underrated. I'm a fan.
Underrated. Drastically. Ask Justin Shire.
You don't need them, though. Like, you can get them put in later, but...
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's why you marry the ass and buy the boobs. We've been over this.
Didn't we skip the eyelashes? Eyelashes are overrated.
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing now, isn't it? Like, I've seen some girls that are just, like, walking around all the time with crazy eyelashes. You know what I'm talking about? The look
It's definitely went too far. Like, it's a normal thing. I mean, this is a normal thing at my house, and I like them. But they are definitely... in the overrated category, because there's some where it looks like they have bugs on their face.
I mean, I like eyelashes. Like you should have them.
Broom on your
eyelash. You don't shave them off.
Yeah,
right. From that far.
No, here's the thing. There's a lot of things that girls do that guys don't actually care that much about. It's like the girls are the ones that are holding each other to some crazy standard. There's a bunch of things girls do, especially to their faces.
We're not looking at your face.
Guys are like,
see previous question. All of us are underrated.
I was trying to say that without laughing, and I couldn't.
There's a bunch of stuff girls do to themselves, and it's just because of each other. It has nothing to do with us.
Oh, man. No, see, that's a great one, though, because the reason that I like this show, and I have to remind everyone of the rules, is I am a big fan. Like, I think that when a girl has her lashes on, it looks better. I like it.
Yeah, like I
can
don't
still
hate
think
them.
I can still think it's overrated. It's like I say about In-N-Out Burger. Like, I go there almost every time I'm in Arizona, but it's still overrated. Like,
right?
It's not
a lot of this stuff girls do to their face, I think, oh, that looks fine or good, but it's not for me. Yeah. Like, they're not. It's not like I asked them to do that.
Yeah.
That's the
fine. They didn't do that.
Oh God, we keep going back to this.
Should I stop talking? I don't know.
All right, one more that I want to get in. Marvel movies.
Overrated.
Now you got to go across the board. I agree 1,000,000, but go ahead.
Overrated. Yeah, just like I don't know. I just couldn't hang in. I just didn't have. There's multiple Marvel movies that I didn't finish watching.
You're kidding.
Like, I put them on and I'd like fall asleep on the plane. Like, I tried to watch that one Captain America movie, didn't even finish it. Don't know what happened. Don't care. The Iron Mans were great. Like, there's certain ones grabbed me. Like the first 2 Iron Mans, I was like, oh man, this is awesome. Like, I love those. And there's a couple that grabbed me. Like, I liked the Doctor Strange movie. I watched that on the plane. I enjoyed that. I thought that was good. There's just too many moving parts. Like, people like, oh no, you just didn't watch them in the right order. Oh, here's the list of all 30 and the list you have and the order you have to watch 17. Them. Like, I don't have time for this. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
I think that the superhero thing in general, I don't know if it's in worldwide or just in bodybuilding, is really odd to me. Just like a lot of adult men collecting toys. And I'm like, our toys are supposed to be in the thousands of dollars and have tires on them.
I get it. In fact, there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys that are like, oh, I wanted to be I love the comic books, and that's you ask them like, oh, why'd you get into bodybuilding? And they're like, oh, I always loved that look, from the time I was a kid.
I can see that.
So I get it. But I know that you guys, I'm not a Marvel guy, and I know you guys weren't, because we've been asked, like, if you could be one Marvel character, which would you be? And then I look at you guys, and you guys are just like deadpan. And you're like, I don't care. I don't know.
Who cares?
I don't know. Thor was
Which one has the biggest wallet? All right.
Thor was a god, so I'd probably pick Thor.
Okay. That's fun.
Okay.
You can back that. I back that.
Do we have
all right, good.
One?
All right, I'm going to do one more because this one I'm actually curious on, and I know it's going to get turned all over the place, but whatever. Tourist activities while traveling, like visiting the Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty, the Arch in St. Louis, that kind of stuff.
For the most part, generally, I've done a bunch of that stuff. Like in my initial travels, whenever I go to a city for the first time, everyone's always like, "Oh, you got to go do this." I'm like, "Okay," and that never turns out to be like the memorable part of the trip ever.
Yeah.
Right.
But you still like you gotta, you know what I mean? Like, oh,
I feel like you got to do it.
Yeah. We're in Paris.
But then it's always like the restaurant we found, and the people we met at the gym, and the people that worked at the hotel that were really cool. That's always what I remember of the trip. It's never the tourist shit ever. So I say generally overrated. There's lots of places I've been where people are like, "Oh, you must have gone and seen the thing," and I'm like, "No, I didn't even bother." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "I just don't care about that stuff."
It depends too, because it can be like so. It can be so like with all, if it's super touristy and there's a lot of people, it can completely ruin it.
Shit.
So my favorite time to do that kind of stuff is like off season. And to me, that's exciting. When like, so when I go,
can eat food, you mean? You need to specify what that means.
Oh, sorry. Like off tourist season. Off tourist season. Like Victoria, I want to take her, what we call here in Michigan, up north. I want to, like this fall. Up north is like, northern Michigan. And she's never been up there. And it's really beautiful. And right now in Traverse City, like all the kids are off school. And everybody's got their boats. And the weekends are jam-packed. And you can't get a hotel room. But if we go up in there after the lakes are starting to get cool, all the kids are back in school, like all the restaurants will be empty. And we could go to like Sleeping Bear Dunes. And we'll be like the only ones in the parking lot. And then the tourist stuff is cool.
Right. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm in agreement that I think across the board it's overrated for the same reasons. There are a couple of things that I've done that, for example, when I did walk through the cathedral the first time in Cologne, I was shocked at the inside of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was just a little blown away with like how amazing that was. But
that's
I
a crazy
wouldn't
thing
have
to
done
see.
that if it was 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
So that, like, I lived in Arizona for 20 years. I've never been to the Grand Canyon. I don't care. It's a hole. It's a deep hole. All right, let's go home. 4 hours. No.
It's like Chevy Chase's Vacation.
I don't care. And people go, "Have you ever seen the pictures?" I'm like, "Yes, you posted them. I saw them. It's fine. Like,
it's
moving
good
on."
enough.
Yeah,
it's good enough.
So we're on the same page with that. Yeah, but a pass. I'd rather go somewhere and I tend to run into people. I don't know, and I'm like, "Where do you eat here? You live here."
Yeah.
And that's how you find like cool places and stuff like that, is just ask locals what they do. What do you do on Saturday nights here? Oh, I've never heard of that. I'm in. I would much rather do that than go, "Yeah, it's that building I've seen since I was a second grader in a picture." I guess I'll have to do the thing where I pretend I'm holding it up. The hell is that? Knock it off. Anyways.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I have no opinion on that, as you can see.
Okay. I'm good with that. Are we good with that?
I'm good with that. Dusty's starting to break up on us, too.
You didn't even give our co-host. You didn't give our co-host a mention when he came on your lap.
Oh, Henry. I didn't want to interrupt the flow. Henry just came up for a how's it going?
Yes.
He's settling in. How's it going, eh? He's settling in. Part of the team. You know what I mean?
All right.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I sent you guys a few videos you got to watch after we get off. You got to check the chat. There's a couple things for you. Very exciting stuff. Hopefully you get a laugh out of it. Remember to like, share, subscribe, comment, and
ring the bell. Hopefully it's on order.
Yeah. Okay.
It worked.
Dusty's breaking up on me, but he's okay with you, Scott?
Oh, no. It's terrible. I was just waiting for you to try to finish this thing.
Okay. Remember, IamMutant.com, Dusty20, Big Run 20, but Dusty's breaking up right now, so just use my code.
Dusty
Everybody should get on the gear. You know the deal. Okay. Thanks, everybody. And remember, it's just bodybuilding.